Hello. Thank you for inviting me to Nordic Games. I always wanted to come and finally they invited me, so I'm happy to be here. And before I start, so my company is Minority Media. We've been 5 years. Before I was working in electronic cars doing shooters, and I couldn't do them anymore and decided to jump out. And Double Tap talk yesterday was amazing and inspired me a lot. So first, we get a lot of financing from the Canadian Media Fund. It's a fund in Canada that is mixing culture and technology, and that with that money, we're able to do amazing things that we're going to show you today. So my first game was Papo and Yo. Then we did Spirits of Spring. I still have a hard time saying it. Then Cali, that's in development, and Time Machine, who came out yesterday to the market. So I hope you guys who have a VR headset here at home. Okay, great. So please give it a try. So we did Papo and Yo for the PlayStation 3. Then we did Spirit of Spring for the iOS. And I want to mark this transition between console and our development culture because it was really hard. It was like platforms set the way stories are told. And for us, it was a really, really hard transition from going to console into mobile. And now we're going into the biggest transition ever, virtual reality. And that is going to change the way we tell stories. And this presentation is about that. So Papo and Yo, whom of you have played Papo and Yo? Good. Who make it till the end? Okay. Who cry? Thank you. So I'm going to play a video that explains the game. I didn't pay for this one. It was Kotaku who did it. And
Playing Papo and Yo forced me to ask myself some difficult questions about why I play games. Do I play to escape the world I live in, or do I play to face my past, to carve out a virtual space, a safe space, where I'm allowed to slay my inner demons? It may make you ask similar questions. That's why it's one of the most important games to come out this whole year. Papo and Yo begins with the following dedication. To my mother, brothers, and sisters, with whom I survived the monster and my father. Vander Caballero. Caballero is Papo and Yo's lead designer. He's also a survivor of an abusive alcoholic father, and the game is a way for him to explore the abuse that he had to deal with growing up. In the game, you play as Kiko, a child attempting to escape his abusive home life by creating a magical realist fantasy. In the favelas of Kiko's imagination, he is no longer a trapped, powerless child. He can lift buildings, move blocks, and explore. He even has a robot companion that helps him fly and turn switches. Everything is magical and wonderful. Until you meet Monster. Monster is a giant, lumbering, pink ogre. He is fat and lazy, yet oddly charming in his own way. There are times when you even grow fond of him. But then Monster will get angry and violent, chase after Kiko, throw him around and make him feel weak and helpless. It's up to him to overcome Monster, to maneuver around his fits of rage, and eventually find a shaman that'll help him overcome his inner demons. That the game is a puzzle platformer makes sense given the subject material. Games like Portal, Ico, and Psychonauts have all flourished in the genre, because the focus on non-violent problem-solving allows players to work through nuanced plots without being forced to kill. Games are often maligned as being escapist, fantasies that we use to distract ourselves and smother the noise of the outside world. Papo and Yo defies that idea. It's a painful, autobiographical story of abuse and redemption, a glorious hero's journey for anyone out there who's ever been molested, raped, or abused. It's adult, touching, and personal in a way I've seen few games ever be, and a benchmark for what I hope they will become. Why do I play games? I play games for moments like this, to be shocked, surprised, and moved. I play games to grow as a human being, to face my own monsters, and if I ever see Vander, I'm gonna give him a hug, because he hasn't just made a game, he's made a work of art that's brave, therapeutic, and wonderful. That's why it's important, and that's why you need to play it right now.
right, it's really heavy, but I survived, so I'm here to tell the story. So every time I start a game, I think of three things: is the journey, the balance, and the design intent. So what do I mean by journey? So for me, it's really important. A therapist once told me this one is you cannot bring someone to a place you have not been. And that is really, really powerful. I was that kid in that closet. I was hiding when my father was a monster, and that was me. And then what I wanted to do was create a game that will bring light to people who have suffered similar experience. And I did, and then I received letters, even it's been out in the market almost 3 years, a bit more, and I still receive letters from people thanking me about creating this game. So it's really, really beautiful to have that experience. And then balance. So what happened is really difficult when I talk about balance, story versus mechanics. So many AAA games go story one side and mechanics the other side. You have to do something good for the planet, but you have to kill 100 people. So it's usually like that. Then you have games where the mechanics is really powerful and the story is really bad, like Mario. Do you really need a princess? And then you have other games that the story is really powerful and the mechanics are not. But magically in Papo and Joe, it took me many years. I think that the mechanic and the balance and the story comes together. So the way I did that one, it was Nilo Roddy. He was my mentor. He was art director for the first Star Wars, and he really helped me into nailing this one down. Once I was at dinner with him, and I was telling my story, and I was crying, and he said, like, Banders, not to be disrespectful to you, but your story has been told 1,000 times. And I go like, fuck you, like, I was angry. And then he told me, what you have to do, it is tell the story with the medium you master. And that's where Papo and Yo was born. So this was my life when I was a kid. I love my father, I fear my father. I felt confusion, anger, guilt. And I want to bring that into the game, into the minute-to-minute gameplay. So what I did was, sorry, put Monster. Monster eats a frog. He turns evil. You had to find a rotten fruit to make him vomit the monster for him to come back to be normal. And that minute-to-minute gameplay is there throughout the game, and people really connect to that experience that I have as a kid. And then design intent. So this is the bit chart for Papo and Yo. And every level and every mechanic have a design intent. And it's really important to think it that way. So let's give you an example. The power of a kid. So one of the most powerful mechanics is this one at the beginning, when Kiko is holding the box, and he's creating a bridge to go to the other side. So these boxes move these houses. So how did I come with that puzzle? So I was thinking, okay, we get at the end of the level, there's the river, and say, okay, if I was a kid, what will I do to go to the other side? And I was like, I will fly, but we cannot do a game about flying because it will break all the whole game. Start thinking, what about if I can move those boxes on the other side? And then the idea came out. It was really naturally. But when people try it, they really feel empowered. They really feel that they're a kid. And after that one, boom, we bring Monster. So from this beauty and this power that you have, suddenly you become totally helpless. Because Monster is there. And that moment is really terrible in the game. People feel really, really, really bad. I talked to people that they felt when Monster attacked them, the first time they feel like they get punched in the stomach. It was a really visceral reaction. And how do you take people out of that moment of sorrow that's so difficult? That's when we put after that moment that you meet Monster for the first time, that he gets angry, then we introduce one of the most fun puzzles in the game. So it's this one. So you see this is the favelas, these all these little houses. You have to go there and collect them, and every time you touch one, it comes here and create this big snake that you control with this little lever here, and then you climb on top. It's a really magical moment. So, and that's what it was for me when after my father was in his hangover, and the night was really difficult. There was this really tension in my home that it was really disgusting. What I did, I just went to play and play and play and play to get some control out of my life. And this brought me to the next one, that is fun level. So when you're looking for fun in a game, you cannot do games like this. You cannot emotional games just for the fun of it. So suddenly, a friend of mine, my partner, Julian, he created a level that it was really fun. We were like 3/4 into the game, and he created this beautiful level. It was really fun. And then I was talking to him, we cannot play that level. It's not the moment to be fun. Right now we have to do something else. And it took me a while to convince him and the team that we should call a fun level. That's something you don't usually do. And what was the level? Is this level. So when you get to the top of the mountain where you're supposed to find the shaman to cure monster, you realize that there's really no shaman. The shaman, there's no cure for monster. And this little status is there were status of he was monster with Alejandra, and when you put the lever, you see what was really happening. You see parts of my childhood. So this is my father aggressing Alejandra. Oof. When people turn the status, sorry, it's really emotional. So, when people turn the status, they see what happened in my life. And it was really crucial to put that into the game, because that what makes the game valuable. And you have to switch fun for these difficult things to happen. But anyway. So let's go to the next one. Spirits of Spring. So this one was a game about surviving the terrible experience of being bullied. So we have Chihuatin, we have Bear and Rabbit, who are his best friend, and we have the cross in the back that are there to bully Chihuatin and his friends. So I want to play a video to better explain what the game is about. Good. Have any of you played Spirits of Spring? 2. Okay, great. Please play it. It's a really, really nice game. And then the journey. So I finished Papo and Joe, and we got a grant from the Canadian government to do a Cree game. So one of my partners is Ernest Webb. He comes from the Cree Nation in Canada. And then my job was to help him find a journey and help him to tell it through through the game. And then Ruben, who was a designer, one of the designers in Papua New Guinea, came and say, "Vander, we have to do something really meaningful again." I was like, "I can't. I'm drained out." And he said, "I have an idea." And then he sit down with Ernest, and then Ernest come from a small town in the northern Quebec in Canada, and Ruben come from a small town in Spain. And they both have something in common. They both got bullied in their childhood in a really nasty way that they left them scars inside themselves that shape their personality, who they are today. And then Ruben jumped into this journey to create this game, and I'm really thankful to him and Ernie that they did it. So what happened? Balance. I think one of the things that it was really difficult for us is that the story is a really beautiful story of redemption, but the mechanics didn't follow. And one of the reasons that I think that the mechanics didn't follow is because of that transition from PlayStation to mobile devices. It is we knew how to make platformer games really well, and then when we went to the iOS, we had to figure out new ways of making mechanic. It was really, really difficult. So the main transversal mechanic is this one. So this is Chihuatin. So the cross have stole the spring. So suddenly it's always winter and people are having a really difficult time. And then you collect the spring flowers that then make you can create paths like that. And it's really beautiful because the more you collect flowers, the longer path you can create. But when it came the time to do the cross, the bullies, we weren't more scripted because we didn't have the time to do a systemic approach. And I wish we had one more year to actually do the game. So the design stain, that's something that we realized that worked really well in Papo. And Ruben did an excellent job. So the first act is about fear. So when you're a kid and you're bullied in school, It's really terrible experience, and we bully you in the game. So it's really sad and terrible how when they actually these guys start hurting your friends, bear and rabbit. And after is anger and anger and impotence. You're really pissed off because you cannot do nothing to them. And when, for example, when you're a kid and suddenly you think that, okay, I'm going to punch the bully, you think about it, but you actually cannot do it. And even if you did it, it will not solve the problem. If you punch your bully, it works for some people, but even if you punch the bully, you will not become the cool kid. You become the weird kid. And after that one, we give you the false power. Some people take shortcuts, some people take drugs. And what we did, this is Chihuatin, and now we give him the power, and right now he becomes Dark Chihuatin. He take a potion, and he start destroying everything. So suddenly, in about... And that mechanic is so powerful, and people love it so much, but we just give it for a short moment in time. It's completely different than doing a shooter. We just give you the power in a certain moment in time, and, and then we take it away from you. Because when you have that power, what you actually end up doing is hurting your friends. And then we'll bring you to despair and shame. So suddenly you hurt your friends, you had the power, you tried, bullies are afraid of you, they run away, you hurt your friends, you're walking in the ice, and then you fall through the ice. And you actually start playing the game upside down. And what happens there is that then you discover real power, and the real power is your friends. The confidence you build and the bonds you create with them. So you ask them for forgiveness to your friends because you hurt them, and then the bullies ask you for forgiveness. Many people are still waiting for the bully to ask them for forgiveness. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but in this game, in the games, we decided to make that happen. And the important part, it was having people have empathy towards the bully to find healing inside of them. Bully is a really difficult system because you have three things. You have the abuser, the victim, and the bystanders. And people move through those circles. It's not that, for example, the guy who's a bully, maybe he's the victim at home. So it's a really complex system. So I wish you guys play the game and give me feedback, because I think this is a really complex subject, and I don't know if we solve it as well as we could. So then we go to VR, and we go to Time Machine. So I'm going to play you a little trailer of the game.
Virtual reality, the most engaging technology of our time, takes you on an unforgettable adventure across the ages.
Welcome, Cadet, to the Monda Museo International Research Mission. You'll be traveling back to the Jurassic period to collect data, vital for the future of life on Earth. Cadet, an ancient virus has escaped from the Arctic ice. We cannot stop it. The key must be in the past. We're counting on you. Find it.
Time Machine VR.
Okay, so the big question is, how come are we doing that game and we did Papo and you? There's a lot of things under the hood of the game that I'm going to talk about. So the first thing is, as we went into this new platform, virtual reality, and it's really, really complex. And before I talk about journey balance and design intent for the game, I'm going to talk about three things: scale, gaze, and validation. Those are the three key things that VR bring to us in order to tell great stories. So let's start by scale. So this is Humphrey Bogart in a cinema, and then we got used to see this huge close-up of people's faces. But if you actually put that in real life, he will be as big as King Kong. And that's VR. That's so crazy. You cannot do close-ups. But we got used to this cinematic experience that actually we cannot do that anymore. So what we did is we started playing with the notion of scale, and we put a dinosaur in VR and went like, wow, this is amazing. And I remember when I was a kid reading books about dinosaurs was one of my favorite things to do, and say like, we have to do it. We have to do this game. And then why Safari experience have never worked before? This is Africa for the PlayStation 4. It's a really beautiful game. But when you play it, you never get scared of the animals. Being close to a dinosaur is really scary thing. When you go to the zoo, you try to stay away. And you see an elephant like that in VR and you see the tusk big like that, you have this response inside of your brain saying, I need to run from here, I need to run from here. You really, we triggered your reptilian brain and the fight and flight reaction. That's really powerful. So what we have ended up doing in console games, because we don't get that sense of scale and we cannot able to trigger these things in your brains, we ended up going for symbolism. We take monsters, we make them bigger, we just take out their, we use symbols like death to make you afraid of it. And you don't need to do that anymore in VR. Just having a large creature coming to you is really scary. So scale became the journey. And what I mean by that? So you're underwater, you have these large creatures swimming above your head. And then we need a companion, so we created a companion AI. His name is not Hal, it's Rob. In reality, it's not Rob, it's Roberto, the first Latin artificial intelligence. He will not speak with an accent, but his name is Roberto. And then we did the game, and then I was doing the presentation, I figured out that Roberto is really like Steve Irwin. You're underwater, and he said to you, okay, you see those large pliosaurus, those magnificent creatures? Stop time, get inside them out, and let's figure what did they eat. And you do it. And all the game is about that loop. Steve Irwin, Roberto telling you to do crazy stuff, and you do it. And it's really scary, and it's really, really powerful mechanic. It's really beautiful. And then what happens is I just couldn't stop there. I need to go a bit further. So in the journey, and there's a backstory that is about letting go. A few years ago, and I was talking to my mom, and she decided to take a class of learning how to die. And it was a really interesting conversation. I asked her, so what did you learn? And she told me, the most difficult thing when you're dying is the people that cling to you. Cling to you because of their needs and their fears, not because they see who you are or what you need. And at that point, I changed my relationship with my mother, and I said, I don't want to be the clinging child. I want to become your friend. Sorry, I'm really emotional today. This is the first time I tell it. And my mother is alive. She's not going to die. She's great. We have this great relationship. And I needed to put that into the game. So how we did it? So we did it like this. We have Roberto, an AI artificial intelligence, and we have Elizabeth. Elizabeth is the lead scientist in the expedition. And then Roberto doesn't want to let her die. And they have these conversations between them, and you're just witnessing how Roberto, this artificial intelligence, is clinging to Elizabeth, and how Elizabeth is making peace with herself with the fact that she's going to die. And I don't know how many people are going to get it. I think a few people will understand the story behind it, but I think it's like every game that I want to do is a game. I want to bring some knowledge to people that make us live better lives, or at least appreciate the life we live in today. Okay, gaze. Gaze is something really, really interesting in VR. And we're going to use the gaze in Kali. Kali is a game that we're developing right now in VR. It's another tragic story of my life. So I lived many tragic stories in the past. I've been 10 years in therapy, so I'm able to tell it today. And I think this is going to be my last tragedy. I don't want to do them anymore because I don't have any more. I live a happy life now. So when I was a kid, I was in love. I fell in love with the daughter of a courtesan, the daughter of a prostitute. And I was a rich kid, and she was the daughter of a prostitute. And then what happened in Colombia was Romeo and Juliet. Really terrible, heartbreaking story of my first love relationship. And that's going to be the game. And why gaze is important. Have any one of you played Coffee Without Words? Okay, good. It's this prototype. I don't remember the name of the developer, but he did a great job. So when you get down, you have your Oculus, and you're sitting with this girl on the table, and he did an amazing animation of the eye tracking and her expressing emotion. She's really angry at you, and you sit down and you feel like when you're angry with your girlfriend, like every guy feels most of the time, and you go like, "Oh, what did I did to you?" And it's really shocked you. It's really, really, really shocking. And it reminds me when I was at EA. There was a project that we're doing. This is Lara Croft, but this is not the project that we're doing at EA. I just put it as a symbol for high definition graphics in a 2D screen. These guys, Elimino was a project that they were developing with Steven Spielberg, and they took a lot of guys from ILM, and they brought them to solve the gaze issue. So they created really amazing shaders, really great animation, but it never worked. And this independent developer was able to manage something that these guys spent millions and millions, and they didn't do it. So it made me realize sometimes we just try to solve some problems with the wrong technology, with the wrong tools. And it's fascinating to see that happening. So I was so fascinated by this that I did an experiment. So this is Kali, is one of the characters in the main character in the game. And what I did, I just put this a 2D flat image, and then I put eyes on her, and then I make the move like that. For you, watching the screen is not doing anything. What happened? Oh, sorry. No, go up. So when you do that in VR, a flat screen, and the eyes look at you, boom, suddenly you connect. You say, that is not a drawing anymore. You say, that person is looking at me, even with that to the screen. It's really, really powerful tool that we have to use, and I'm just looking forward what people are going to do with that. So what is so important, and this brings me, that gaze is so important because we bring to the next point, that is validation. So in the 40s, people sit down around the TV, and they were looking at TV shows, advertisement, and they were validating themselves. Am I dressing the people in the TV is dressing? Is my behavior appropriate? And you judge your behavior according to where according to the entertainment you were looking at. And I want to bring you to the present suddenly. Imagine that you have that guy looking at the TV, and that is Nicole Kidman, my favorite actress, and Nicole Kidman said, "I love you." Then you'll be like, "I don't believe it. It's not true. It's not happening." Like a House of Cards, when the guy stops and then he's looking at you, they can only make it last for a few, not more than a minute, because then you unplug from it. But if someone filmed Nicole Kidman in VR and she looked at me and told me, "I love you," I will say like, "I always knew it." And I want someone to do it. So VR is the most powerful creative tool we ever encounter in the story of humanity. And the question is, what will you create? Thank you. Questions? Okay. Thank you very much.